Hey everyone! In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how I made my own non-alcoholic version of Campari. I actually used this to make a cocktail in my last video, which was a review of all of the non-alcoholic spirits that I've tried. Definitely check that video out. I will link it below. Okay, so to make this Campari, there is a couple make-ahead steps that you're going to want to do. The first is to make a tincture, essentially using this vegetable glycerin, and then I have a bunch of different roots and also dried bitter orange peel that takes a little while to infuse. So this step is going to take 4 weeks. I know, it's a long time to infuse. Unfortunately, glycerin is not as strong as a solvent as ethanol is, so it does take quite a bit longer, and the final product is a bit more mild. So just note that it's not going to be quite as bitter and bracing as traditional Campari is. It's more like a Aperol situation. Then you'll go ahead and make an Oleo-Saccharum using fresh grapefruit peel and fresh lemon peel. I used an Oleo-Saccharum to make my non-alcoholic triple sec, which I'll also link below. Essentially what you're doing is you're taking the peels of the citrus and then you're adding them with equal parts sugar, and then you're massaging them or letting them rest until a really delicious citrusy syrup has formed. And then the last 2 steps you can do the same day. That's an herbal tea. I'm going to make a really dense herbal tea. And then also the red syrup, which I will be using cochineal bugs that I grind into a fine powder and add into a very rich, simple syrup. All right, now let's get started. For the glycerin extraction, I'll be mixing 2-to-1 ratio of water to glycerin. I initially thought 3 ounces would be enough, but after weighing out the volume of the ingredients, I decided to scale up to a 6-ounce glycerin mixture. To this mixture, I'll be adding 6 grams angelica root, 6 grams orris root, 1 gram grated ginseng, 10 grams gentian root, 2 grams Turkish rhubarb root, and 25 grams bitter orange peel. As with all of these herbs and spices, please do your best to research them and make sure you're sourcing the best and safest ingredients you can get. If you don't feel comfortable using some of these ingredients, use your best judgment and read up on alternatives before you make this so you can alter the recipe and amounts if you need to. I like to shake it up every once in a while to help the infusion along. For the Oleo-Saccharum, I'll be using 20 grams of both lemon and grapefruit peel. And covering it with 40 grams of sugar. I like to make the Oleo-Saccharum in a plastic bag. It's easier to massage the peels and the sugar to extract the citrus oils. After giving the peels a nice massage, I let them rest overnight. By the next morning, there are no more visible sugar crystals. Now I'll just remove the peels and we'll have our fresh citrus component. Once the tincture and the Oleo-Saccharum are ready, we can move on to the next step, which is making an herbal tea. To my French press, I'll add 6 grams of wormwood. For this recipe, you'll want to find wormwood that's been treated to be thujone-free. 1 star anise pod, 2 grams of marjoram, 2 grams of cinnamon, 2 grams of rosemary, 2 grams thyme, 3 grams of cloves. I'll cover them with 1 cup of hot water and let it steep for 20 minutes. While the herbs are steeping, I'll make the red syrup. I'm going to grind up about 3 grams of cochineal bugs in a mortar and pestle until it's a fine deep red powder. I'll heat a 1/4 cup of water with a 1/2 cup of sugar and let it all boil until the sugar has been dissolved. I'll remove the syrup from the heat and then stir in the pulverized cochineal bugs. I've seen a recipe that suggests adding cochineal bugs to the sugar and water while cooking it together. I don't recommend this method. In my experience, cooking the cochineal bugs gives the syrup a very strange coppery taste and the strange metallic smell. I think it's best to add the cochineal after making the syrup. Stir to combine and let it cool. Once it's cooled a bit, I'll strain out the bug particles and set it in the fridge to cool. The last step is to mix it all up. I'll add the tincture, herbal tea, Oleo-Saccharum, and red syrup together and stir to combine. To make up the remaining volume, I'll add 1 cup of distilled water. This will help to soften the more bitter and sweet elements. Since it's looking a little bit murky, I'm going to add a couple of drops of Pectinex. This will help all the cloudy bits settle to the bottom. I recommend letting this bottle condition for a couple of weeks. It really helps the citrus flavors come forward. And there you have it. This is the finished product. Let's give it a taste. So it is not as bitter as you would expect it to be, but it is still really nice. It has a really nice bitterness, a really nice bright orange forward nose. Yeah, and the flavor profile is very close to Campari, just obviously a lot less bitter. I'm sure that you could probably make it a little bit more bitter. You would just have to add a lot more of the bittering agents. Like I would add more wormwood, I would add more of the gentian root. That would definitely bulk up the bitter factor for you. However, I kind of like it a little lighter. It's kind of nice. I'd say more in the Aperol family, but it's really nice in like, you know, a non-alcoholic Negroni or Spagliato or really any kind of thing that you would use Campari or Aperol for. It's even really good just to make like a low ABV cocktail with, maybe like a weeknight Negroni if you want to use regular sweet vermouth and gin. One more thing I do want to note about this is that it is mostly made up of just sugar and water, so I would recommend refrigerating this and then also use your best judgment and give it the old smell test and taste test before you go ahead and use it, because it can actually mold after some time. So I would, just like you would simple syrup, keep it in the refrigerator. It should last for about like 3 months in the refrigerator, but just obviously always use your best judgment and make sure that it is still good before you go ahead and use it. Yeah, anyway, that's my non-alcoholic Campari. I really hope you give it a try, and if you do, please let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks guys, have a great week.